Hey, what's up, YouTube? Red and Danny here, back with another New World video. Today, we're going to talk about how to get to Mutation Level 10 in New World. The Mutation Expeditions are out. We have been running them pretty much non-stop, I guess, since they came out. But we have some tips for you, some main sticking points to help you progress through mutations as well. Again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button and the subscription button if you enjoy the video. First, Danny, let's go into 1A. And this is the most important thing. If you skip everything else in the video, watch this part. Because it turns out this is like literally the only real important thing to progress through these mutations, and that is increase your gear score. Danny, tell us a little bit more about what that means.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I've personally, and I think Red has too, we spent a lot of time kind of preparing and getting ready for the mutations, your trophies, your potions, everything. But the biggest point, really, and the biggest thing that we found, I think everyone else has found, is getting your gear score up. So try not to enter a mutation with your gear score lower than the recommended, or too lower than the recommended, because it becomes extremely punishing. So what we're kind of suggesting you guys to do is make sure, obviously, all of your gear score is at 600 before you do the mutation. We've been farming Laz and Genesis. Genesis is really fantastic for bumping your gear score quite quickly. And of course, you can only upgrade your 600 gear score items once your expertise becomes 600 as well. So making sure you use those Umbral Shards efficiently.
Yes. So one of the things I think that's really, challenging for a lot of players right now, we're going to talk a little bit more about this at the end of the video, is no one's got their expertise up to where it's supposed to be. So it's impossible to progress through these mutations if you haven't done that already, just because you need to be expertise 600 before you can even upgrade your 590 gear to 600. So, you know what I mean? Even though you may have like really good gear right now, your expertise is extremely important in the mutations. One of the things is that you can only upgrade once your expertise is 600, and upgrading a 600 gear is actually way cheaper and more efficient than upgrading your purple gear. Honestly, Danny, at this point, after seeing the mutations, after seeing the new changes to the drops in the expeditions, I don't even think it's really good to upgrade your 590, 591, 592 gear. Like the amount of shards it takes is insane compared to just getting a level 600 item to 605 or 606 or 607, 608 even. You're going to be spending a ton more shards getting something up to 600 rather than just farming the normal Laz and Gen. Get your 600 expertise, get your 600 drops, because right now it seems like that jump from 598 to 600 is almost a guaranteed legendary. So, just make sure you get all your slots updated. That shouldn't take very long, considering the price of running these expeditions are way down now, and the availability of orbs and groups seem to be way up. It shouldn't take long for you to get there. So make sure that don't upgrade anything with Umbral Shards unless you're in the 600 range. Unless it's like a Will of the Ancients 599 and you're like, I can't get the legendary. I got to upgrade this. But yeah, that would be another tip from us, is just make sure you are upgrading 600 gear once you get it.
I was gonna say I learned that the hard way. I spent a whole day buying gear that was like 595 and above, ready for these, and I was like, okay, that's all in the bin now. I don't need that at all. What I was gonna say is, of course, making sure that, okay, so what I've been doing, and I think what some people are doing, is if you've got 600 gear score items now and armor and weapons that you have and you don't have any more, if you can push that gear score up until around mutation 5 or 6, I think especially mutation 6, because that's when you can start to change your gear. So I've even got some void bent pieces that I'm using currently in the mutations. It's not ideal, it's far from ideal, but push that up to mutation 6, and once you hit mutation 6, you get quite a lot of Umbral Shards, which you can then change your gear score, or change your armor, and then increase the gear score on those pieces of armor.
Yes, and it's not just upgrading your gear evenly across the board, but making sure you upgrade them in a certain manner. There is a tool over there on GitHub that allows you to put in how many Umbral Shards you have, and then it shows you which pieces of gear you can upgrade to get the most out of those Umbral Shards to increase your gear score in the most effective manner. Obviously, there's some priority here on weapons and your chest piece, and then that's kind of followed by all of the other pieces, except for feet. Feet, for some reason, tends to be not important at all when you're increasing your overall gear score. But yeah, make sure you use this tool, especially when you're getting started, to make sure you get the most out of your Umbral Shards. We'll link that again in the description below. all of us kind of, I guess, underestimated how these were scaled. Like, it is literally like you must have 606 or you're dealing half damage, you're taking twice the damage. It's pretty crazy. 1B would be, of course, and this is something you guys know from running regular expeditions, hopefully, is make sure you're using your consumables, your gems, and your armor and weapons, your trophies in your houses, and like last but also very important, get a weapon with that particular Bane on it, because that is a large increase to your damage. I believe on a legendary it's 14% increase to ancients or you know, angry earth or whatever. So make sure you're checking all those boxes, guys, because your DPS can help you clear trash faster, which is the hardest part of an expedition. It can shorten boss fights, which again makes it a lot easier, and then reduce the risk of dying by missed mechanics, Danneh. This is something that, you know, again, I would say, like, if you're going to do only one thing in this video, get your gear score up. But dude, these are also very important if you're a DPS player.
Yeah, so I guess finally, touching on our armor and our jewelry perks. So as I kind of mentioned before, gear score is probably the most important, even if you're running perks and you know, jewelry perks, armor perks that are not exactly relevant to the dungeon you're running, but making sure you've got those banes on as much as you can. But once you're hitting that mutation 6, start to swap out as much as you can the wards, the resistances, and everything that will help you with that particular dungeon.
Yes, exactly. You know, because like you had mentioned before, dude, and I think this is a good tip. A lot of people have Void Bent laying around. Hopefully you didn't destroy it yet. It was like everybody's first jump into good armor, right? Was Void Bent. Void Bent is actually very viable in these mutations because they are basically slanted towards elemental resistance. And you're going to be taking a ton of elemental damage from all these mechanics, the void mechanics, the fire mechanics. You know, a lot of those are elemental damage. So having a full set of Void Bent on, is, at least to get you through the initial stages and up to the higher levels of mutation, is very viable. And I'm glad that you mentioned that. Past that, dude, you can start looking for like your ward and resistance armor, things that specifically reduce the damage of the particular mob type that you're fighting. But again, this is like 1C. We consider this to be like the third most important thing. So don't stress about this when you should really just, you know, again, just get a nice legendary or a particularly Void Bent on your armor, a nice weapon with a Bane on it, increase those up as high as you can until you start hitting the higher levels of the mutations. Danneh, that's about it for the tip section. Just real quick at the end of here, how are you enjoying the mutations so far? You liking the content?
I'm kind of in that honeymoon phase, you know? Like it's fun. It is fun. There's that kind of you know, this competition to get to the end, and it's not competitive, let's say, but it's, you know, I want to get to mutation 10. I want to get to the end, and the fact that more things are dropping leads me to be a bit more excited for PvP, because I have a good chance of getting better gear, and all around it's like, you know, it fills me with happiness. But you know, it's you know, to be completely honest, it is disappointing. It feels like, you know, the entire mutation's built off gear score. You know, what I would have loved to have seen is, you know, you get to the end boss, Chardis, and he I don't know, he shoots fire out of his, you know, he's not a laser beam man, it's fire out
of his rear end, or what are we looking for, Danneh? Yo, I agree with you. Like, it would be cool, like, to have a secondary mechanic on the boss fights, because they seem to be just the same with more hit points and then more damage. But again, you bypass that with your gear score, so really the boss fights are the same. One of the things, dude, that I've kind of thought about through these mutations, obviously, is the drop rate. Really, like the regular, you know, it has made the game, in my opinion, so much better. It's like loot pinata. Every time you go into an expedition, even a normal one, you're getting showered with loot, man. And I really like envision or hope New World eventually becomes like this Diablo of MMOs, where it's like you're just getting showered with loot. Every time you kill a boss, you're picking up a bag with a bunch of stuff in it. And then you got to sift through those, but hopefully you know, one day we some way to manage our gear efficiently in the game. But I would love to see gear sets too. I don't know how you feel about that. Gear set bonuses, because the more loot we get, the better. And then also you can make it more unique with the, you know, more perks and bonuses.
I was just going to say quickly, I know there's a lot of people that are kind of concerned that this is not killing crafting, but it's having a big effect on the craft. But you know, on the flip side, I think it's such a we've been calling it the gear catch-up patch. You know, there's clans out there that have millions and millions and millions of gold to the point they're creating multiple clans just to store the gold, and they can do what they want. But you know, the rest of us, we now have this opportunity to get good gear through alternative means and not just crafting it. So I think potentially they need to find the right balance between having too much and, you know, completely destroying the craft, let's say. But I think at the moment it's a really nice place, and maybe reward the crafting a bit more and a bit, I don't know, whatever it may happen. But I think it's a nice way for us to catch up with these guys that can buy anything and do what they want. So yeah, I'm hoping we all start to reach that, you know, gear limit, and we all have kind of similar gear, and then, you know, at that point it starts to get quite competitive on the field when it comes to PvP and kind of just generic, you know, general content in itself. But I'm liking it. I'm having fun so far. So let's see how long that lasts.
And I wouldn't deny that crafting maybe needs some attention after this, but this needed to happen because at this point, like you said, the people in the game that have owned territories, they're way ahead financially, and it turns out crafting is just like, how much money can you throw at it? How much money can you throw at crafting a chess piece until you get the best in slot? Because basically, you know, it feels bad when you're poor and you go in and you're like, man, I saved up for 10 chess pieces and it's like 300,000 worth of mats. And then you roll 0 good ones and you're like, well, I am broke now and I've got nothing. Yeah. But see, this patch will at least help you, you know, increase your chances at getting some good armor and some good weapons, especially weapons, because a lot of the best in slot weapons are dropping out of these dungeons now, and it's good fun. Real quick though, you know, as much as this is helping people catch up, dude, obviously there still is the Umbral Shard grind to get your gear from 600 to 625. I think one of the things, you know, now for New World is maybe let's focus on horizontal content. You know, spread out the variety, but don't increase the progression for quite a while, because this is a pretty big jump, dude. From Umbral Shards, excuse me, we went from Gypsum to expertise to Umbral Shards. It was all a lot for players, I think, initially. I know it was to kind of get the end game right or correct, you know, from the old days of just farming chests and hope you get an upgrade. Hopefully, though, they found a good place for progression, and now maybe like let's add the rest of the mutated versions of all the other expeditions, maybe a few weapons, maybe a zone or two, and then think about coming out with an expansion with a progression increase.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, a lot of the current community and the current player base felt like we've just been like, have this and have that and have that, and you got to progress faster and you got to get more dailies done and more time gated stuff. But I think like when you look at it from a new player perspective, it should be in a good place, and hopefully it's in a good place. But you know, we're already finding on our server that there's, you know, mutation keys going for extreme amount of money, and people, you know, there's not enough of them to go around, and you know, how is that going to fare for new players and things. So I think like you absolutely hit the nail on the head. If we can, you know, it's in a good place when it comes to kind of, you know, the end. Now let's just get more content for us to do. Now when we get there, when we're here, let's get more stuff to do. So fingers crossed. I know March is going to be a big couple of months for New World, and my fingers are crossed, dude. I'm excited for it, and I'm excited for the future. So I'm on Amazon. Let's go. Make it good, please.
I think we all rooting for it because it's got such a good core, man. It just like I keep telling this to people, it needs the Burning Crusades, man. It needs the Wrath of the Lich King. If it can stack these, you know, some really, really good expansions on top of this really good core, dude, I think we're all going to be enjoying New World for a very, very long time. So guys, thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. Let us know how you're doing in the mutations. What's the highest mutation level that you've reached in New World? And hopefully these tips helped you if you hadn't reached 10 already to get there. Thanks for watching, guys. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next video.